Here's a pro tip for anybody that's going to see a movie. If you're buying a ticket, don't buy tickets right next to the one other person who's in the theater, because it is f***ing annoying. Sting stars Alila Brown, Jermaine Fowler, Ryan Corr, and is directed by Kia Roche Turner. And it's about a little girl who takes a fascination with a spider she finds in her grandmother's apartment, to which she affectionately names Sting. It's Sting! But this isn't your typical spider, because it's an alien that crashed into Earth from a meteorite. And this little guy needs to feed, and the more it feeds, the more it grows. Now, Sting is a fairly simple and uncomplicated creature feature. It's a film that knows exactly what it is and sets out and accomplishes exactly what it's meant to do. And that's give you a couple scares and a couple gross out moments, but overall, it's just simply there to entertain and have fun with. It's a movie that doesn't really take itself too seriously, and really, neither should you. But to tell you the truth, for a simple little creature feature like this, I really didn't expect this to have as much of a heart as it did. At the center of this story is a family that is struggling and trying to make it. We got the mom who's just trying to make ends meet. There's Ethan, who is a struggling comic book artist who's kind of looking for his big break. And then there's their little girl, Charlotte. Charlotte's Web, get it? And their chemistry together is really good, and their dynamic, I feel, is real. They feel like a real struggling family that you could picture being in this situation. I really do like the relationship between the stepfather Ethan and Charlotte. And even though Ethan is her stepfather, they shared this like common bond and love of comic books. And you just see that kind of unspoken like love and admiration that they both have for one another. And obviously in kind of family dynamics like this, you're going to have moments of stress. And even in those moments when they are fed up with one another, you could still tell that they both really do deep down care about each other. But Charlotte, played by Alila Brown, really does carry this movie on her shoulders. She's a character who has a lot of sass, but also some vulnerability there. Plus, she becomes a resourceful little genius towards the end of this. But she is the unquestioned hero of this movie, as she is tasked with eventually having to put down her beloved pet Sting. Plus, there are a couple moments here when she is hunting the spider. It totally gave me like Aliens and Ellen Ripley vibes. And there's a scene towards the end when she has to confront Sting that it has to be an homage to Terminator. That's the only way I can explain it, because that's the first thing that popped into my head when I saw it. But all the characters are fun. The performances across the board were all pretty solid. But I think my favorite character is Frank the Exterminator. He's just a lot of fun, and he's silly, and plus he has a really cool kind of wink and a nod to Predator towards the end of this movie. I also liked the other neighbor, Eric, because he's just so weird and dry with his delivery that it's funny. You know, come to think of it, I don't think there's really a character in here that I dislike. For the most part, they're all pretty decently written, and they're all acted fairly well. I mean, obviously for what this movie is.
You sure about that?
Now, in a creature feature like this, your main attraction is the creature itself, which is this spider Sting. And I have to say that the effects are really well done with it. Now, I don't assume that there were a lot of practical effects done here just by the nature of the film itself, but I do think the practical effects that they did have, especially when they're close up on Sting itself, are actually really, really well done. But for someone like me who doesn't care for a lot of CGI abuse in horror movies or movies in general, I think the CGI was pretty competent and pretty well done here. I think they did a good job with the spider and making it realistic looking enough. But I think a lot of that also has to do with the fact that they really didn't reveal the spider too much. You see it every now and then in glimpses, but they did a really good job of trying to keep it in the shadows, keep it in the vents, and just kind of have it pop out for a jump scare every now and then, or you see its legs. So yeah, I think they did a good job with kind of shooting around it, so to speak. But in conjunction with those CGI and special effects, the makeup and gore effects here were actually really good. and really gnarly in certain parts. There's one scene in particular where there's a woman who's attacked, and the spider bites her on the face and she becomes paralyzed. And as she's lying there, she's still, alive. She could feel everything that's going on, and she could still, see everything. The spider just kind of crawls into her mouth and then works its way down her throat and then just starts eating her from the inside out. And the aftermath of it is it's just sick. Like, in a really cool effects way sick, but I was sitting there like, oh my God, like it made me just the thought of it going down your throat and out your stomach is just, yeah, it's gross. But anyways, ladies and gents, if you're looking for my recommendation on Sting, I will say it's kind of fringe, but I will give it a recommendation to go see it. It is fun. I had a lot of fun with it. Again, can't take a movie like this too seriously because the movie itself at times doesn't take itself too seriously, but it only does it when it matters. So I highly recommend it. Go check it out. I don't think you'll be disappointed. But that was my look into Sting. If you guys have seen it, what are your thoughts? Please post them below. And as always, like, comment, and subscribe. Adios. Now, GTFO.